Hi, my friends. So, popular request, Karina and my sister both said that they really enjoyed the little tiny mic, and so they're gonna make, or it's gonna make, it's gonna make an appearance more often. Especially since I figured out how to actually work the little mic. So, Karina, this is for you. Anyways, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be doing my quarterly recap of what has been going on with my journals. There has been quite a few changes from what I had originally intended for it to be in my 2024 Tachokaigi. That'll be linked up above if you want to check it out. But yeah, there has been quite a few changes. If you've been caught up in my videos, you would have seen quite a few of those changes taking place. But if not, no worries, we're going to catch you up today. This is primarily going to be a video with just my hands, I think. But yeah, I felt cute, so I figured I'd do this little intro as the sun was setting. Anyways, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoy the video. So let's change POVs, shall we? So I figured I would do a just quick recap of what the original plan was. Feel free to check out the Techo Kaigi video at the beginning of the year to get a full scope of what it was all about. But essentially, I was going to be using 3 weeks, 2 weeks mega, and a regular one. This mega was going to be my work notebook, my productivity notebook, essentially. And that didn't last the full month of January before I was spiraling and not really feeling great about it. And you'll notice that I added, I changed the cover for it because at one point in, I think towards the end of February, beginning of March, I had planned to use this as my everyday carry and kind of just like an overflow journal of sorts and kind of just take this on the go. I am using it for that, but it's been very sporadic and not very not very continuously, right? Just every so often if I need to throw a notebook in just to make sure that I have somewhere to write things, I'll throw this one in. If I have a field notes closer to me, then I'll throw in a field notes. But for the most part, I'm just using this one now as a kind of like everyday carry type situation. It doesn't really have an exact purpose, but it fits really well in my fanny pack. So that's what's happening there. So this didn't last very long. This one was going to be a social media planner, and I'm pretty sure I didn't use it past, let's see. Yeah, not even the first week of January. I didn't even use it for that. I think I was using it in like December. Yeah, but this one didn't last very long either. It just wasn't working for me. I think in my Techokaigi video, I showed an insert that I had made that I was going to use for social media planning, and that also didn't work. I haven't touched that either. Let's see. While we're talking about things that didn't really work and are no longer in the system. So I'm actually gonna talk about this later on in the video, but for now we're gonna put this in this section of didn't work out. So for those of you who follow me on Instagram, or this won't be news to you if you follow any of my videos on YouTube either. I've already talked about this. Sorry, my timeline is a little messed up right now. But I was using this as a media journal and daily log system. This is the paper test B6. And once we hit, let's see, tell you exactly what day, Sunday the 4th of February. I didn't fill this in after that because I had a pretty bad spiral. I was having a lot of issues with this, and yeah, it wasn't going very well. I do talk a bit about this in my traveler's notebook setup video, and I also talk a bit about this in my TN system that I just posted, I think, or my TN journal update that I posted, I think, last week by the time that this video goes live. So I talk a bit about that, but essentially, this was just not working for me for a few reasons. It being the bulkiness of the notebook was really making it so that I was afraid to stick things in, and sticking things into my notebooks is a very big part of how I memory keep. Also, if it looks different, it's because I changed the print that was in here. I had another print when I showed this off in my Techo Kaigi. So as I was saying, so one of the major issues was the size of it. Another issue that I was having was that I felt very constrained. I was just sort of like rebelling against the constraints of the grid system of having specific amount of pages per day. And something that the paper test does really well, if you are wanting to do a day per page, but want a bit more freedom because you don't always need to fill a paper page, but you want to have 7, the paper test is amazing for that because you do have 7 pages and they are blank, so you can technically use them for whatever you want. But I don't know, something about it just wasn't working for me, so I quickly scratched, well, not quickly, actually, it took me a long time, but I did scratch this and we're not using that in our system anymore. Another thing that is kind of been a bit of a bust, I haven't been keeping up with my daily haiku very consistently, but that is still somewhat in there. It is just, I have field notes, and even though they are not a staple or a continuous journal that I use in my systems, they are just lingering in different areas around the house. And if I need to jot something down, I will just write it in there just to make sure that I catch that information somewhere that I can reference it later on. So I just have field notes like sprayed around, not sprayed, splayed around the house, and then I can just use them as I need them. So those exist. I was using one of the field notes. Which one is it? I think it's this one. One of the field notes for just notes as I am editing my videos for like time cards and timestamps and not time cards. Yeah, I guess time cards, timestamps, and like mentions or links that I need to include in the description. So that's one of the ways that I was using the field notes. The other way that I was using the field notes was for the daily haikus, and then just as a random catch all for when I'm watching a movie or a show and I have some thoughts, I'll just quickly jot them down in a field notes as well. So that's also something that I kind of haven't really been using since the Techo Kaigi. So these two are certainly not, this is definitely not in the system anymore. This is kind of like there, lingering, still trying to find its place in my system. Along with the field notes, they're kind of just there. They're not very consistent, but they exist. And definitely not using the Paper Test V6 as my media journal and daily log anymore. So there is something that I do want to say about this, but we will talk about this later on in the video because this is going to be a wild card, actually. So we'll get back to this one. Before I get into the next section of the video where it's journals that I am still kind of using or are maybe just now falling out of love with, I did start off saying that I was going to use this for my morning pages, and I have used it for my morning pages. There are some days that I don't write, but for the most part, I have been pretty consistent with this. I just love flipping through the pages and seeing all the writing. It's so like, oh my god, I love it so much. And you can see the different density of the pens because I'm just using pens as they run out in here. But yes, I am using this as a morning pages journal, and this is still going strong, still using this one. I started on page yeah, started on page 32, and I'm currently on page 142. So 110 pages. Is that right? Mental math is not my forte. But yes, loving this, still going strong with this. Definitely recommend having a morning pages practice for getting just all of the ruckus and the noise out of your head early on in the morning. And that way you have space in your brain for other things throughout the day. So yes, definitely still using this one. Another journal that I talked about in my Techo Kaigi was this journal, which was going to be my health journal. And I have been on and off in this. Currently, I'm off. But I don't want to let it die. I don't know. I don't know what it is about it that just makes it difficult sometimes to keep up with. And so I come into this journal, I leave the journal. I come into this journal, I leave the journal. And it's just this very toxic relationship that I have with it. So she's still fighting for her life. But I'm thinking that I'm probably gonna have to figure out a better way to do this because I do want to keep a health log of certain things because of my chronic conditions, but it needs to be in a way that is a little bit easier. So this is something that I'm going to have to look into and just spend some time kind of brainstorming and seeing what the best way it is for me to keep a health journal, keep a health log, whether that's introducing that into a system that I currently use or just finding an easier way to set these up and just make it, easier for me to do the weekly setups. So this is still kind of there, kind of not. We have a toxic relationship, this journal and I. um okay. And then so while I was going through my little spiral with the Paper Test B6, one of the reasons why I started kind of going haywire was because I wanted to try out the paper test, not the paper test. I wanted to try out a rings planner. So I found a rings planner and I was kind of experimenting with that. And this happened around mid February, early March. And I found a very good deal on a used Portobello Filofax on Mercari. Bought that, bought some of the some dividers, and started setting it up. And yeah, it didn't work for media journaling. It definitely didn't work for media journaling. I do talk about this in my vlog. There's a section and there is time steps for it in the description. So if you want more details on what this is about and how I used it and my kind of like thought process on the rings, please make sure to check out that vlog video. I'll leave it in the cards above and you can find the timestamp for it. But essentially, this for media journaling wasn't what I was looking for. So I quickly discarded that. I am still planning on using this, but it's probably going to either be as a writing journal or as a reference journal. So you may be asking why the sudden change in where did my sleeves go? You might be asking. The sleeves will come back when I was recording this video. Towards the end of it, the first time I was recording it, towards the end of it, I was like, man, I've only recorded like 12 minutes of video. Really? I was really surprised at how little I had spoken, even though I thought I had spoken for a long time. Well, it wasn't a coincidence. The thing is that I paused the recording at one point and forgot to press re-record or start the recording up again. So I lost the explanation for all of the other journals. We'll go ahead and go back to the original me who recorded the tour after I finish explaining to you all of the other journals that I still have to explain. So here we go. As I was saying, I'm going to be experimenting with the rings as a reference or a writing notebook. I still haven't 100% decided what that is, but I am looking forward to it. One of the reasons why it didn't work for me as a media journal was because I don't like the idea of having to create all these inserts over and over and over again for like a daily, either a planner or even for the memory keeping. It was just a lot of work and I don't really have the time for it. So for me, it just didn't feel like a good option in my case. But when it comes to either being a writing journal or a reference journal, that's not something that I have to be creating specific inserts for all the time or anything like that. And in terms of like the referencing, I in 2023 used a field notes for reference material, but I do like the idea of being able to kind of like flip through it and having tabs or dividers, especially since I ended up buying so many dividers. Ridiculous, honestly, but um yeah, I'm excited to kind of like experiment with this a little bit more in Q2. So if I do end up setting this up, go ahead. I will go ahead and record the video for it. So keep an eye out. But yeah, I am looking forward to using this in Q2. Next up, we should talk about the work planner. So when I started 2024, I decided that I was going to use a weeks for my work planner, but very quickly I realized that that wasn't working for me. And I still had my Hobonichi Weeks from 2023 that still had some pages left over because I got it later in the year. And so I started playing around with that setup in the 2023 Avec. I just redated it for the time period that I was using it. And that way I was able to kind of experiment and figure out whether I liked it or not. And I did. I did end up liking it. And so I bought this one and I moved into it. I think the 21st. I moved into this the 21st of January and have been in this since then. And it's been working really, really well. I think the main reason why it didn't end up working for me to use the weeks was because for planning specifically, I did find that I was needing daily pages. So with journaling, and that's why I think this one didn't work for me in 2023, with journaling specifically and memory keeping, I don't like day per page because some days I write a lot and some days I don't. And I just prefer flexibility. I prefer the flexibility of having some like no layout, Just that's why I'm using, spoiler alert, that's why I'm using a blank insert for memory keeping right now. It's why I didn't end up finishing using the paper test, because I realized that for me, I prefer a more freer layout so that I can bring my own creativity to the table in terms of how I want to memory keep at that specific moment. But for planning, that's not the case. I actually am the opposite when it comes to planning. I'd rather have constraints. I'd rather have layouts that are there already for me so that it's easy for me to figure out where I need to go for what I need. And I definitely do need daily pages. I was using the Alistair method for my to do list for the week, and I was finding that I needed I needed a more microscopic vision of what I was doing in my day, especially because I have so many different types of tasks that I'm working through. I have my virtual assistant business, which I work with different clients who need different things, and then I have my YouTube stuff, and then I have now my Patreon stuff, and I have my Substack stuff, and so I have my home stuff. Right, there's so many different things, and I needed a place where I can just figure out exactly what I needed to do in a day. And that's why this one has been working really well since then. That being said, I did talk about a wild card earlier. I am playing around this week specifically with the idea of moving my work and social media planning into the paper test B6. I don't know if that's going to work out or not. But there are certain things that I am lacking or wish I could kind of tweak a bit in the Avec. It still works for me. And if I decide that I actually don't like this, I will go back to the Avec, because I'm not going to break something that is working well, especially something as important as my planner system. But I am experimenting with the paper test, and so into moving into Q2, I'm going to start off kind of like working in here and figuring out if I like it, and if I do, I will stay in it, and if I don't, I'll go back into the Avec. But that's kind of like what's going on in terms of this. The only reason I really didn't like this, and I think I mentioned it, is just the main reason I don't really like this is because of the thickness of it. And it's not just a paper test thing, it's also a Hobonichi thing. I don't buy the cousin because I don't like the thickness of it. Especially with the B6 size, I find my hand falling off of the edge very often, and it just makes it for an uncomfortable writing experience. I'd rather the thinner book. So if at any point Tess comes out with an Avec version of this, I'm gonna be all over it. But anyways, that's the plan for Q2 in terms of work planner. If it doesn't end up working in the paper test, then I'll be going back into my Avec, because I've been doing really well in it. So we'll see what's going on with that, and hopefully all goes well. Then we have our TN systems. I have my Camel and my Brown, and I'm fighting every single day the urge to not get an olive, but I digress. So let's start with this one. This is what I call my personal growth journal, and here I have 3 inserts. The first insert is a kind of like brainstorming, mind mapping. If I need to kind of work through something for my business or anything, it's usually for business or for productivity stuff. It's not really for like home things. That will go in this insert, and it is just a blank insert. This is a white one, not a cream. Yeah, this is a white one. Just a blank insert. Um I had originally started using it for December daily, and I'll show you that. Actually, I started using it for morning pages, and then I went in and did I wanted to use it for December daily, and that only lasted me for 2 days. And then I just repurposed it into my brainstorming insert. Next one is a portion of my common placing system. This is just the place where I write in quotes, and also I interact with the text that I copy down. So I don't say this is my commonplace book, because I consider that my common placing system is more than just this book. But I'm gonna make a whole other video on that, because I really need to deep dive into that notion. For now, I'll just say that this insert is part of my common placing system, where it's like what you would traditionally think of a commonplace system, where it's quotes or found text, and then you interact with that text and write it down. And I still have a lot of backlogging that I need to do. So there's that. Last insert in here is a kind of like self-study insert, where if I am reading a book or doing a course, I need to take notes, then I will put that in here. For example, I did a writing workshop with Cody Cook Parrott at the end of December, and all of my class notes are in here. I am currently reading through the 12-week year, and any notes that I have or any assignments that come from the book will go in here. I was researching, researching SEO the other day. Any notes on that will go here. So essentially, this is kind of like a study area. So study area, quotes, and kind of like humanities base, and then brainstorming. So that's why I consider this my personal growth notebook. If I end up doing what I think I'm gonna do, which I want to get back into language learning. I was very big into language learning a few years back, and I've been very busy, so I haven't really done much. But I want to get back into my Japanese and Korean studies. If I end up doing that, then I might just add another insert to here, and use that as my language, and then that's another aspect of the personal growth notebook. Or I might just give myself the excuse of getting the olive, you know? No, I can't get the olive. Guys, I'm struggling so hard with the olive. I guess in the Q2 we'll see if I've been strong or not. But yeah, that's my personal growth notebook, and I've been really enjoying this one. I set this one up, I think, end of February, beginning of March, same time that I set up this one, and I've been loving it. I haven't been in it very much recently because I've been focusing on the backlogging process in my media journal, but as soon as I am up to date in the media journal, I'm going to be focusing in here. And yeah, I love it. I wasn't a huge fan of the camel before I added this patch to it. And also the fact that these inserts are very important to me. I do find myself enjoying this one more than I did before when it was without the patch and all that. So, pro tip, if you are finding that you don't like a cover and you don't want to get rid of it because you see the value in it, put a patch on, decorate it with something, make it your own, personalize it, and then you might find that you like it more after that, because that was definitely the case for me with this patch. So that one was this one. And now to my pride and joy, my beautiful brown insert, which is super chunky. I don't usually journal it with it this chunky, by the way. I do take the inserts out when I work on it, but let me go ahead, take this out. This is my memory keeper, or what you would normally consider a memory keeper. I think I talked about it in a previous video where, to me, everything that I've showed you is is memory keeping to me because it's a cementing, or a cementing of what's going on with you, of your life. So to me, everything is memory keeping, but this is more a traditional memory keeper where it's like my daily logging and my media journaling and all that good stuff. So this is my brown. I start off with the clear pouch, and then I have my media journal, and this is my media journal and daily log, which is titled The Life Archives and Media Journal. And I'm obsessed with this cover. I keep adding stickers to it from the different Patreon rewards that I've received. So like this is from Paloma the Peach. I think this is also from Paloma the Peach. This is from Leigh Ellickson. Also Lee Ellickson. I don't know why I said it that way. Lee Ellickson. This is from Conky. And this is from Flesh PNG. Flesh PNG. These are the Dolce Vita. But yeah, as I receive stickers, I also have some in the back, I think. Yeah, these are from Flesh PNG. I just add them in here, and I love it so much. It's so good. I love it. I love it. It's a way for me to be able to use my stickers, because I get really scared about not sticking them in a place where I'm not going to see them. And so I love it. I love putting them here. And I also started putting stickers on my laptop after being terrified of doing that for all of my life. So that's a thing now. I'm not gonna give you a flip through of this. There is a flip through of it in my Patreon, and I'll talk a bit about that a little later. But this is what I'm using as my, let's see here, as my media journal and daily log insert. I do have a setup for this. There are other videos where I go through it, and you can check out my spreads on Instagram. I am still in the backlogging portion of this. I still have one more day that I need to copy over from the paper Tess, which I'll show you. So Friday. So this spread is the only one that's left for me to transfer over here, and then it's just a matter of me researching and filling it out so that we can get up to date. In the meantime, and I mentioned that in my one of my most recent videos, I went ahead I was using this vertical insert as my junk journal January insert, and I didn't end up finishing junk journal January, so I had a empty insert, and I decided to repurpose it for memory keeping while I am still in the backlogging process. So I've been doing that since last week, haven't finished this one. And I'm going to keep doing that until I am up to date. Once I'm up to date in my general life archives, then I have to figure out what I'm going to use the vertical weekly for. I do really enjoy this layout, but I don't know how I would use it in a way that didn't duplicate with the life archives. But I will do some brainstorming on that because I do really want to do that. So that's something for Q2 that we're going to experiment with. And then I have a craft insert here in the back that I haven't done anything with yet. But I'm thinking that this one is going to be a picture heavy insert. Like I'm going to focus more on inserting images in here. Haven't decided quite yet on that either, but that is what that looks like. And that is my memory keeping system currently. I do have a monthly insert somewhere that I had put in here, but I haven't decided how I'm going to use that yet. We shall see. And yeah, I think that that's all that I needed to talk about. I think we can go back to the original footage now. Yeah, because I think what I left off in was talking about where you can see my monthly flip throughs. So yeah, let's go back to the original footage. Sorry about the mishap.
So I wanted to talk about this video's sponsor, L&M's Patreon. If you didn't know, I opened a Patreon and there's going to be a bunch of exclusive content on there behind the scenes. We're going to have exclusive videos on there, monthly flip throughs, if that's something that you're interested. There's also a podcast that's exclusive to there, so just figured I'd go ahead and chat about it a little bit since that's the sponsor of this video.
So if you're interested at all in monthly flip throughs, check out the Patreon because that's where I'm going to be doing monthly flip throughs of all of my journals. I actually already posted the Q1 flip through. Since I started the Patreon in March, we hadn't done a flip through of January or February, so I went ahead and did a Q1. That is on Patreon now, and if that's something that you're interested, the link will be down below. But yes, monthly flip throughs will be happening on Patreon. On YouTube, we will continue doing kind of similar to this quarterly check-ins just to see, what's going on and how things have changed or haven't changed or how things are going. And then, of course, on YouTube, at the end of the year, we'll do our yearly flip through. But if you are interested in monthly ones, do check out the Patreon. There's other content on there that'd be really cool. And we'd love to have you there. But just as a recap of what we got going on going into Q2. So we have our life archives and media journaling, which is going to stay in my TN. Very excited to continue the backlogging process and get up to date on here, and going to determine what we're going to use that vertical weekly for once we are caught up on the blank notebook. But we are remaining in a TN system for the media journaling and the daily logging. Aside from that, we have our personal growth journal also still remaining in our traveler's notebook, where we currently have 3 inserts, one for my commonplacing, one for mind mapping and brainstorming, and another for just taking notes as I do self-studying. So TN notebooks will be continuing in the system. We're going to experiment with the Paper Test P6 as a work planner and a social media planner. And if that doesn't work, we will go back to the Hobonichi. Also, I love how I keep saying we will as if it's more than just me. I don't know if you've caught that in my videos. I tend to do that a lot and I don't notice it until I'm editing, where I'm like, we will, but it's just me. I will. I will be using the Paper Test P6 as an experiment in this quarter for a work and social media planner. And if that doesn't work, I will go back into the Hobonichi A5 for work planning. We are going to figure out, oh, there we go again. We are. Oh my goodness. I am going to figure out the rings planner and whether I'm going to set that up as a reference planner or a writing journal. And we will, I can't. I don't know why I keep insisting. Someone want to tell me psychology wise why it is that I keep doing that? Let me know in the comments if you have any idea, if you have any knowledge on why I would continue to say we instead of I. And then I'll figure out what to do with this, but very excited to experiment and kind of figure out a purpose for this journal, because I do think that it has a place in my systems. I just have to figure out a good way for it to, to exist within my systems. going to figure out the health journal situation and kind of try and figure out a way to make it the setup of it on a weekly basis, monthly basis, a little easier to get through so that I'm not bogged down by having to set it up and then just create a huge backlogging process, especially because I'm still backlogging in a lot of the other journals. This one just gets put to the side, and I do find value in health journals. So kind of figuring out how I can make this a little easier for myself so I can continue getting that information. And if it doesn't work in the weeks, figuring out where else I can keep this so that I do have a health log, because that is really important to me. And then we have the constant. The constant since the beginning of 2024, still the only one I think that I haven't done any changes to, the morning journals notebook, which is hilarious because I absolutely do not vibe with this yellow anymore. But since I put the stickers on it, I think it helps. And also it's so important to my practice. So we are still going strong in the morning pages in this notebook. I'm not sure if we'll finish this notebook by the end of Q2, but if we don't finish it by the end of if I don't finish it by the end of Q2, if I don't finish it by the end of Q2, then it'll be almost finished, and then we'll be able to go into the next one. But morning page is still going strong. And essentially, that is what the plan is for the next quarter. That's how things have gone. That's how things have changed. And, you know, I feel pretty good at the beginning of, or around the beginning of February. Things were feeling very, very bad in terms of journaling. Very, yeah, I was not feeling well. It was very scattered, and planning wise, it was just really bad. I was having a really bad time and not figuring things out, but things right now feel really good. They have been for the past couple of months, especially in like my main systems. So the work planner and the memory keeping system, they have been feeling really good. So I'm really excited to continue on with these journals into Q2. Do let me know if you've changed journals between the beginning of Q1 and the start of Q2, if you are feeling good in your journals right now, or if you're experiencing some unsettledness within your systems. I would love to know. Please let me know in the chat, or not in the chat. Please let me know in the comment section. And yeah, do check out the Patreon if you would like some more content from me, or just to be a part of our little community over there. I would love to have you. I would love to have you over there with us. So thank you so much. And I will go ahead and catch you in the next video. Bye.